Okay, so today I'm going to be talking to you about philanthropy through endurance, amongst several other things. I've written here, selfish, submissive, and stubborn, success as a young person in the 21st century. This is kind of what I've learned over the last 5 years of my life as a framework to be a successful person. But before I really want to start, I just want to hear from you guys what you think being successful really means. What do you think? Your definition of success. If you were to be successful in life, how would that materialize itself?
I guess, personally, I wouldn't really materialize it. It's just if there's something you want to achieve, right? It can be a small thing, it can be a big thing.
Yeah.
And if you do it, it is success, right?
Okay, all right. So it's about seeing your goals become real,
Yeah.
whether they're small or big.
Your goals, yeah.
What about someone else? Anyone else want to volunteer what they think it is to be successful?
Constant improvement.
Constant improvement, okay, seeking to make yourself a better person. I don't know if that means through achievement or through just being more content or happy, as other speakers are going to be talking about this afternoon. For me, I like to use Ayn Rand. She's a fantastic author. It's International Women's Day. I like to talk a lot about her. She has this quote that says, a successful person is not someone who's out there to beat others, but to achieve things. And I think that's it. And what do I mean by achieving? Well, it doesn't really matter. It could be to get that job with Goldman Sachs. It could be to walk across a desert. It doesn't matter. But this is the framework that I would use that I think could lead to anyone being successful. So I started off as a pretty ordinary student. I was in school in England, actually, in my first year. And I had a childhood friend. His name was Joshua Hellman. And we'd grown up together. He grew up in Hong Kong as well. He was born in Hong Kong. And we basically spent every weekend we could with each other until at the age of around 10, he got diagnosed with an orphan disease. Orphan disease is an umbrella term for diseases which are just so incredibly rare that they have no attention from the medical community. And so although he came from a pretty well-off background, his parents weren't able to do anything about his disease. He suffered a series of strokes which rendered him blind, in a wheelchair, deaf, unable to speak. And so I saw my friend, who was this guy I used to go out all the time with, become contained in a wheelchair. And although he was so physically disabled by that point, he still retained a real strong thirst for life. And the last thing he ever wanted was anyone talking about his suffering around him. And I remember the last time I saw him was just before I went to boarding school. I stayed the night at his house, and there wasn't much we did, so we just played video games. We couldn't go outdoors at that time anymore. And I left him, and he had a stroke that night, so he went early to the hospital. And that was the last time I saw my friend. I went to England. He passed away. It's true that in life, some of the most powerful people, the powerful ideas, the most powerful motivation that drives us out there to go and change our worlds, change the worlds of other people, come out of grief. And this was certainly the case with Joshua's death. His mother set up a charity in his memory to assist other people who were suffering from orphan diseases, and it inspired me as well. And I would say I was a very normal and average student. I didn't have money to give to his mother's charity, but I thought I could do something a bit different and try and raise awareness so that perhaps other people could give money to his mother's charity. And so I decided to walk across England. And this was really the fourth S, I'd say, in the whole success framework, and that's serendipity, in that we cannot plan for the opportunities that come up, but we can make the most of them. And this was very much the case. A friend of mine passed away. That's something I could never have predicted, but it gave me the option to really try and make a difference. So me and a friend got together, and we planned our route to walk 600 kilometers across the base of England. And to be honest, no one really thought we could do it. We were 14 at the time, and so about 90% of the people we spoke to said, don't bother, why don't you just go to a music festival or something and do something else at the time. But we were really adamant. We wanted to walk across England, and we wanted to do it for these causes we really cared about that were so close to our heart. Which kind of brings me to the first point of being selfish. And in a sense, we were being very selfish, because we weren't looking around the communities around us and saying, what do people out there really want to support? We were looking into ourselves and saying, what would motivate us to walk across England? Anyway, we managed to do it. We walked across the base of England, pretty much to London, in 600 kilometers in 13 days. And I thought it was awful. Like, after 3 days, I had blisters the size of pancakes on my feet. We were on the beautiful coast of Cornwall, so I would have been happy to just dump my stuff and stay there. But because we were doing it for this cause, we never gave up. And by the time that expedition was over, I was like, I'm never ever doing that again in my life. Lo and behold, I get a call from a friend of mine's mother in Hong Kong. I'm studying at United World College now over here. And she says, Chris, I heard you walked across England. We're just short of one support runner. Can you help us? Sure, what is it? It's the Maclehose Trail. It's called the Trail Walker. I was like, okay, sure, I'll do it. And I was like, okay, how bad can it be? My mum, she's not a super fitness freak. So it can't be incredible. It turns out this lady's called Lucy Marriott, and she's the fastest ultramarathon runner in Asia. Anyway, and this trail walker was actually Asia's toughest mountain marathon. It was 100 kilometers through Hong Kong. I had 40 days to train. It's like, oh goodness. And I was like such an amateur. I'd never run more than 5Ks in my life. So I'd go out in like rugby shorts and boxers and run in the mountains. And eventually I did this trail walk. I ran 6 stages of it, carrying their water, and passed out and went to hospital. And I remember the end because we were at this place called Monkey Hill, and there were monkeys there. I was seeing literally thousands of monkeys around me, which there weren't, wasn't possible. Anyway, so that sort of got me going into this whole, let's do, the Oxfam Trail Walk was about tying philanthropy with endurance. So that got me into this sort of idea, and I followed up. I started doing mountain marathons throughout Asia. That's actually me and Charles after our first expedition at the finish line. We did 2 expeditions together. Both times, we both had beautiful bottles of champagne at the finish line. Both times, he couldn't open his for whatever reason. So 2-0 for me, anyway. So eventually, my journeys, I never really planned anything. To be honest, the first expedition was the only one I planned, which was to walk across England. And from then onwards, it was all serendipity. It was people like, oh yeah, we've got this idea, can you take part in it? And sure enough, I got a call from an explorer, said, do you want to walk across the Gobi Desert? I have a confession to make. I thought the Gobi Desert was on the African continent. I had no idea what it was. I said, sure, why not? And I looked it up, most extreme desert in the world, 1,000 miles. Oh my God, my parents are going to freak out. I told them on the weekend, and my dad sort of coughed up his food. My mum, just sighed, I think, I don't know. But sure enough, 6 months later, I finished my last IB exam, got on a plane, and whilst all my friends went to Phuket and, were inebriated for 2 weeks, I was in the middle of the Gobi Desert with no option but to walk across this formidable desert. And that got me a connection with local nomadic people there. And whilst I was walking across the desert, I didn't have a lot of time to live with nomads, which was really what I was seeking to do there. So anyway, I went back to Mongolia. There's a photo there in the desert, walking across it, not very exciting. And I went to go live with nomads. So I did that for 3 months. I basically didn't bring a camera or anything with me. I just went to go live with them and try and be one of them. So I didn't bring any technology. And for 3 months I lived as a nomad in my gap year. I loved it. That's me there with the eagle. Great photo. Beautiful animal. It's a top predator over there. But I was learning all the way. And basically it became clear to me that what I'd really learned was to be selfish is not a bad thing. And I think we're taught as students to be incredibly selfless, conversely. Instead of thinking about what we really deep in our heart of hearts want to do, what we really are passionate about, what we're emotionally motivated to take part in and do, we're thinking about what makes our parents happy, what makes our university happy, what makes our school happy. And that can often lead us on a path that we're not necessarily passionate enough to follow. And so I learned that being selfish through these expeditions was in fact a wonderful thing to do if it was channeled in a particular way. And then if you follow your true desires, whatever they are, the world is such a complex place that no 2 people will ever land in the same place if they really follow what they deeply and selfishly imagine they'd like to do in life. What was this nebulous collection between philanthropy and endurance? Why should I give you money if you run a marathon? Why should I give you money if you cycle across Canada? And the answer was really that this was my way of showing you how much I cared about the cause. I'm willing to sacrifice my mental and physical well-being to such an extent. Why? You could either explain it that he has a penchant for doing weird, strange, masochistic things, or it's because he really cares about the cause and he wants to show it. So in a sense, endurance for me was the currency of charity work. So I got to this point where I'd gone through this and I'd sort of seen what was happening, and I had all my friends asking me about how they could do it. And so that was stage 2. Stage 1 was the experiential stage, the serendipity stage. The stage 2 was about leveraging the lessons you learn and sharing them with other people. That's what really defines, that's what business is, that's what the world is. It's when you share your knowledge and your skills with the community. And so I set up a race called the 24-hour race running Stop the Traffik in Hong Kong, where everyone would get just a little taste for philanthropy through endurance by running 24 hours non-stop to fight human trafficking. This is a fantastic quote, and this relates to the submissive element. I do not believe that, some people say 40, 60% environment, genes, that's who you are. I believe it's 90% your environment. And people say, oh, you're so cynical about that. You mean you're only defined by where you are? But I think that's less cynical than saying that you're 50% what your parents are. I think it's much more interesting to say, fine, there's not a lot that you can to change your inner philosophy, except if you go live with nomads, or you go do something completely out of your comfort zone, whatever it is, and you make that your life. And that defines you, I think. More so than just sitting in a chair and saying, I'd like to be this kind of person. You have to go out and change your environment to do that. So this was my small way of doing it. That's a Batman quote there. I just love Batman. But it's not who you are underneath, but what you do that defines you. One of the best things that's ever come out of Hollywood is that quote. Not much else. So the other day I was sitting in a talk with some of my colleagues sitting over here today from the Youth Endurance Network by Alistair Humphreys, and he talked about this phenomenal idea, the 5 p.m. to 9 a.m. day. So we've got millions of students around the world who are all competing in the exact same framework, right? You think about it, you're studying maths, the sciences, English, primary first languages, and that's the framework for creativity that we have from 9 a.m. to 5 p.m., not literally. And we're all trying to compete for similar objectives within that framework. How is it possible to be a success in a successful university, successful within those frameworks when your competitors are literally millions of people? So top universities in the world now look at what you do at 5 p.m. to 9 a.m. They look at to the modules. They assume that you're an excellent student. I'm sure at HKUST they do the same thing. They assume you're wonderful students and they look to see what you do outside of your university time that differentiates you. But even then, now we're providing all these conventional frameworks there as well. You know, it's now an assumption that you can do grade 8 violin. It's an assumption that you're president of 6 or 7 clubs at your old school. So what else are people doing, right, to separate themselves and to compete in this framework? It's unfortunate, but to compete within this framework. And I think, honestly, the best way, and in a sense it's a one big round circle, is to pursue what you deeply yourself are interested in. Because the chances are that it's not going to be, you know, grade 8 violin or whatever. It's going to be something that's really particular to you. For example, if I look at myself today, I'm 21 years old and I'm running a small charity and a small non-profit. One of those charities does 24-hour races for schools in Singapore, Malaysia, and Hong Kong around human trafficking. Like, you want to draw the Venn diagram for the amount of people who are doing that around the world? It's like practically none, but I'm having a very successful and fulfilling life in that sense. Mainly because I've been incredibly selfish and I've understood the fact that we are only what we surround ourselves with. So for me, the great problem with education is that it limits creativity. It says you can have creativity within these subjects. And then when we have the free time, it's almost just as arrogant to say, oh yeah, you have the creativity from 5 p.m. to 9 a.m. to do what you want. Because in a sense, you know, parents will sign up their kids for all these activities and it's other frameworks. But once again, you're in these, your creativity is limited to whatever's going on there. So true creativity was something that really interested me. And so that's why I set up the last company, which was the Youth Endurance Network. And for me, the Youth Endurance Network is that final stage. So first, it's that experiential learning. It's going on these expeditions. It's seeing the world. And you know, those expeditions gave me a taste and a thirst for learning and being useful in that sense that sitting in a classroom never could have. And then I was leveraging it. It was giving that experience to the community around you. That's another stage. And third, you redefine that area, whatever it relates to. So for me, I think education, there are so many young people in Hong Kong who are put in this framework and it's watertight, it's hard to escape out of. And you know what? A lot of parents think, on the long run, great, we've got to just get you into high school, and we've got you in a good high school, and we've got you in college. And just, people are obsessed with it, there's no time to do what you need, and you're playing tennis on Wednesdays, you're doing whatever else in tuition, and you walk out of university, and you have no idea what you want to do in life. So we need to start focusing on our 5 p.m. to 9 a.m. times of the day, and start creating opportunities and creating environments that are conducive to true creativity, conducive to young people really following what they personally believe in over frameworks that the world provides for us. So the Youth Endurance Network is about experiencing the world and doing that. I'd like to leave you with a short quote by one of the presidents of the United States, Mr. Monroe, 5th President of the United States, and he said that at the end of any step of education, we shouldn't look at what we've learned, but rather what we've become. Thank you for listening.